Hey guys, my name is Pedram and I'm a professional practice assistant professor in finance. I'm also a CFA charter holder. This is another episode of my crash course in machine learning concepts, simply explained. Alright, part 22. Let's talk about curves of dimensionality first, and then we will discuss what are KNN pros and cons in general. In the previous episodes, part 20 and 21, I covered the concepts of KNN classification and KNN regression. If you haven't watched those videos, please make sure you watch them first and then come back to this one. In this one, part 22, we will be talking about curves of dimensionality and how it's going to affect the performance of the model in general. Then we will be discussing the pros and cons of KNN, and finally we conclude this episode by looking at some applications of KNN in finance. So what is curves of dimensionality? The curves of dimensionality is a problem with the relationship between dimensionality and the volume. Okay? So basically, when the dimensionality increases, the volume associated with that area also increases, but not fast enough. So basically, we can say it like this. The sparsity of data happens when moving to higher dimensions, right? The volume of the space represented grows so quickly that the data cannot keep up with that and thus becomes sparse. So let me give you an example in 1, 2, and 3 dimension. So let's start with 1 dimension, the simplest one. Okay. So let's say the dimension of the data is 1. So let's say d is equal to 1. And just for the sake of argument, our x variable is discrete, right? So this is the discrete random variable. And it can, so let's say, how many observations here we have? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the dimension is 1, and this random variable can take 10 values. So the number of observations, so what is the number of required observations? I call it number of required observations to basically span the entire space here. The answer is going to be 10. If I have 10 observations and assuming that the data set is just, the random variable is discrete, then I only need 10 observations to span the entire dimension, right? So as we go from 1 dimension to 2 dimensions, let's say here we have x1 and x2. So dimension goes to 2, from 1 to 2. So as dimension goes from 1 to 2, then how many points do I need to span the entire feature space here, right? Again, just for the sake of argument, assume that both x1 and x2 are discrete and they can take 10 numbers. So the answer is going to be that 10 to the power of 2. So we're going to require 100 observations, in this example, hundreds of blue and red, to span the entire feature space, right? So as you can see, when the dimension goes from 1 to 2, the number of observations required to span the entire feature goes from 10 to 100. Now let's go to dimension is equal to 3. So in order to span the entire feature space here, how many observations do we require? Yes, 10 to the power of 3, right? So the answer is 1,000. So as you can see, this is growing so fast. Simply when I go from dimension 2 to 3, it went from 100 to 1,000. Then you can imagine, what if dimension is only 10? This is a very small number for machine learning models in general. If you only have 10 features, you're going to need 10 to the power of 10 or 10 billion observations to basically span the entire feature space. So as you can guess, this cannot keep up with the increase in the number of dimension, right? So we are going to end up with some sparse data, right? A sparsity in the data. Let's say here we have a sparsity in the data, here we have a sparsity in the data, and etc., right? So in short, what is the curse of dimensionality? We can say by adding extra dimension, the data points needed to cover the entire volume increase exponentially. So this means that the data structure and correlation in low dimensions does not apply or generalize well in the high dimension space. We call this problem curse of dimensionality. Okay, now let's talk about curves of dimensionality when we're dealing with the KNN models in general. Let's start with the classification model. So imagine there are two classes, red and green. And then we're looking at the data sets in three different dimensions, 1 dimension, 2 dimension, and 3 dimensions, the ones that we can visualize, right? So if the dimensionality of the data is only 1, then finding neighborhoods that in those neighborhoods there are observations, it's not difficult, right? We're not dealing with a no nearby neighborhood, right? So whatever, imagine here, here, wherever we are, if you pick at any level, any value for k, you're going to find some neighbors close enough to that observations, right? So when dimension is 1, most probably you're not dealing with the sparsity of the data. When dimension is 2, well, we're going to start seeing these curves of dimensionality, right? So let's say we are here, okay, then we define k is equal to 2, then the closest two neighbors are here, so maybe no problem there. Maybe the characteristic of this observation is close enough to the class green. But what if we are here? Okay, let me use another color. Let's use light blue. What if we are here? This is an observation that x1 is equal to, let's say, 1, x2 is equal to 1, right? And so in order to reach out to the closest observation, we have to expand the radius of that neighborhood, right? So we have to travel too far. Let's say you have to travel too far in order to get access to the first neighbor. So let's say this is the first neighbor is green. The problem here is that maybe this observation here, maybe this observation in terms of characteristic is not similar enough to this observation, right? So this is the idea of curves of dimensionality and dealing with sparse data, right? So it seems that here we will see no nearby neighbors. So that's the problem. And as we go to higher dimension, this problem is going to become more exaggerated. Okay, so that was an example for classification. How it's going to look like for regression? So if you watch part 21, at the very last slide, I compared the KNN regression with our linear regression model, right? And in order to just quickly remind you what are these curve means, so let's say the black dashed line is going to be the MSE in the test set using OLS. And it's going to be one number, right? And it's independent of the value of k. So the vertical axis is MSE in the test set. The horizontal axis is 1 over k. So for different values of k, we're going to get different numbers for MSE in the test set, right? And here we're going to look at different panels, right? So let's say p is equal to 1 versus p is equal to 20. And this is the dimensionality of the data. So dimension is equal to 1. Here, dimension is equal to 20. So we have 20 features versus 1 feature versus 2 features, 3 features, and etc. So for any of these data sets, we're going to use linear regression and compare it to KNN regression with different values of k. And let's see how it's going to look like. So it seems that when the dimension of the data is small, let's say is equal to 1 or 2, KNN is outperforming, look at that, the green dashed line. This is MSE in the test set using KNN. KNN is outperforming the simple OLS when dimensionality of the data is small. So it's completely outperforming here. Here is completely outperforming when dimension is equal to 2 is completely, KNN is completely outperforming. When dimension is equal to 3, for some values of k, the KNN is outperforming, and when dimension is 4, well, for some values, they're equally performing, KNN and OLS. So it seems that when the dimension of the data is small, right, let's say 1, 2, 3, and you know that the true relationship is nonlinear, so let me summarize it like this. If you know that there is nonlinear relationship in the data, plus the dimensionality of the data is low, so low dimension, then you may prefer KNN to simple OLS, simple regression model. However, when the dimension of the data increase, let's say 10, 20, as you can see, regardless of the value that you pick for K, KNN is going to do a very worse job compared to simple OLS. So OLS is completely outperforming KNN when the dimension of the data is large. So in this example, 10, even when dimension is 10, the OLS is outperforming the KNN by large margin. So these are the MSE numbers, right? The smaller the better. Okay, so that's why we should be careful when you're applying KNN models both for classification and regression. Especially for regression, if the dimension of the data is large, we know that there are better machine learning models out there, so we should not necessarily waste time using KNN regression. All right. Let's talk about KNN's pros and cons, starting with the advantages. So KNN is a very intuitive and simple model. We already talked about the algorithm, both for classification and regression, and we know that it's very simple to implement. It's a non-parametric model. It means that there's no assumption. You're not going to impose any functional form or assumption on the distribution of the data, right? It is easy to implement for multi-class classification problems, right? So this is one of the biggest advantages of KNN. Let's say you have 4 classes, 5 classes. You can easily apply KNN to find the cloud of data, basically to figure out what is the pattern in the data. It is used for both for classification and regression, and then the other advantage is that there are very few parameters or hyperparameters. Basically, most of the time we're dealing with distance metrics and number of neighbors. Okay, so these are the advantages. So in terms of disadvantages, we know that KNN is slow, so it's a memory-based approach. This means that to classify new data points, the KNN algorithm reads through the entire data set to find out the K nearest neighbors. So we talked about this lazy learner approach aspect of KNN. Okay. And the next disadvantage is scarce of dimensionality, and we saw that especially in regression analysis, when the dimension of the data is not that large, basically if it is only 10, then KNN is not even beating the simple OLS regression model. Okay. So it is also not good with multiple categorical features, and the reason is that when we have multiple categorical features, then the choice of distance metric is going to become very subjective, right? Should we use Euclidean distance? Should we use Manhattan distance? And we're going to see that the answer is going to be, in some cases, very different from each other because we are dealing with multiple categorical variables, and calculating the distance is going to become subjective. And another disadvantage is choice of K. Basically, we know that K must be pre-specified before starting to generate the outcomes. However, this is not necessarily a big deal because we can always use cross-validation and tune the hyperparameters. Finally, so maybe this is a big deal when it comes to using, either you want to use KNN model or not, because KNN is a non-parametric model, and absolutely we cannot use it for interpretation. There is no interpretation, none, right? There is no parameters that you can interpret it at the end of the day. So if you want to use the machine learning models and also at the same time think about interpretability of that model, KNN maybe, especially for regression, maybe is your last option. So here's my final thought about KNN. KNN is mostly used for classification. So if you want to do regression analysis with KNN, you would be better off using other models, other machine learning models. But for classification, we know that KNN is a very robust classifier, especially when the dimension of the data is not that large. So for that reason, it is often used as a benchmark for more complex classifiers, such as even artificial neural networks or support vector machines. Okay, so let's wrap up this episode by going over some of the KNN applications in finance. So the general idea is that you want to classify a new observations in the test set by looking at its similarities, the distance, the similarities of that observation with other observations in the train set. Okay, so just keep in mind, KNN is mostly used for classification, And when it's come to regression, we know that there are better machine learning models out there. So this is number one. Number two is that as long as you can keep the size of the dimension of the data set manageable, let's say 20, 30, 40, then you can think of KNN. If your dataset by nature has hundreds or thousands of features, then you should not necessarily invest your time in using KNN as a classification. So all these examples that I'm going to show you down the road are going to be examples for classification, and we assume that the dimensionality of the data is a manageable number, maybe at most around 30. Okay, so let's start. The first one is, for example, you want to use KNN to classify bankruptcy predictions, right? So we know that, remember, KNN, the output is probabilistic. So we can say, by looking at the financial ratios of a company, we can come up with some probabilities that if that company is going to become bankrupt or not, right? Then another example is stock price prediction. So we're not necessarily interested in the level of a stock. We are looking at the sign of the bet, right? So let's say buy or sell or hold. And just here, I want you to remember that don't get super excited with stock price prediction in general when it comes to machine learning, because what we get is about the sign of the bet. We can say buy or sell. We cannot say anything about the size of the bet. Okay, now buy, but how much? Sell, how much? How many shares, right? So this is basically talking about finding the sign of the bet. Then the next example is corporate bond credit rating assignments. So imagine you want to specify if a company that is issuing a corporate bond, the bond is going to be investment grade or let's say junk bond, right? So, or maybe you can say you can classify the corporate bond ratings into 5 different classes, 6 different classes, right? AAA, AA, and etc., right? So in these examples, when the dimension of the data is relatively small and you have multiple classes, let's say 5, let's say 10, then KNN is going to be a very attractive candidate. Next example, money laundering analysis. So imagine at the end of the day, you want to keep track of a transaction and then you flag it, is it a fraudulent or not? And next example is bank customer profiling. This is a very classical example for classification. So let's say you want to come up with 4 different classes for the customers of a bank, right? So because this is a multiple class classification, 4 classes, and the dimension of the data is usually manageable and small, 20 to 30, so why not using KNN? And actually we are going to see that KNN is going to do a good job for bank customer profiling. Another example, you can think of loan management. If you're a lender and you want to decide should you lend to someone or not, right? Again, in all these examples, the feature size is small and manageable. So that's why we can think of KNN as a classifier. Okay, that was it, and I hope to see you in the next lecture. Until then, take care.